Welcome to another episode of Commending and Contending, a podcast about how the gospel of Jesus encourages us to live our lives and use our words to commend and contend for Jesus and his gospel. I'm your host, Jonathan Holt, and joining me on the show today is Pierce and Christina. G'day, guys. How you doing?
We're doing great. We've also got our little 9-month-old Blaze.
He may have
Welcome,
some.
Blaze, to the podcast. Youngest ever guest. That is a record. Tell me, guys, where has God planted you?
Well, physically, we're in far south Tasmania in the Huon Valley, which is a beautiful apple picking region of Tassie. It's quite green compared to some parts of the Midlands of Tassie, and we love being here. We run a hostel for travelers from all over the world as an evangelistic mission, and then we also run an arts festival and an artist residency here. So we're kind of that's kind of where we are on the big picture.
Yeah, we live on 26 acres and we're in an area surrounded by orchards and vineyards and all sorts of things that feed the rest of Australia. And we also have a large itinerant population of fruit pickers during the agricultural season.
Sounds idyllic. Tell me a little bit about how each of you came to be followers of the Lord Jesus.
We both came to faith very early. So I always say my story starts with my parents. My dad was ridiculously overeducated. He'd been to film school, he'd been to law school, he'd been to graduate school, and he was very anti-Christian. And he was in his late 20s, and a friend of his father encouraged him to kind of read the Bible and tell him what was wrong with the Bible. And so my father had to read through the Bible, and just reading the Bible, he became a Christian at 28. And he married my mother about a month later. And my mother took a few more years to become a Christian. She became a Christian the year I was born. And so I was born to a family of new believers who were always very open about their past, and grew up in a Christian family in that context. And it was very much a thing that grew and grew with me. I never had a period of rebellion. It was just more taking on ownership of this faith that I had. And Christina? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm also a cradle Christian. I can't really remember a time when I didn't believe in Jesus. Yeah, you want to talk about this too. I remember having my first really profound conviction of my own sinfulness when I was 5. But also having this really, really, really strong sense that Jesus loved me and was there for me. And so that's been something that's been with me throughout my life. It doesn't mean that my life is always perfect or easy. I have seasonal depression, but it's something that's absolutely bedrock for me, and has been just a wonderful blessing for my whole life.
Tell me, how has God been encouraging you guys recently?
Man, we have a big family, and we learn so many things through our kids. Just about the Father heart of God, His kindness to us, even when we're foolish. We My wife has started writing a series of novels about an English clergyman's daughter who inherits a family estate in Yorkshire and discovers dragons. And just on a personal level, it's been extremely encouraging because the book has had a really good reception. And so it's been just kind of interesting to watch that play out. And the other encouragement is that we, in our ministry, have started to build on our phase 2. And God provided for us to build an arts workshop, which we just finished and we're so excited about. And yeah, there's just a lot of kind of practical things that have been encouragements to us. And on a more spiritual level, well, I mean, it's all interlinked, but just I've been thinking a lot lately about kind of love of neighbor and what it looks like to be practical hands of the church, in our local community. So.
I'd really like to pick up more on that ministry that you're doing. Can we start with the Arts Festival and what you're planning there, how that works, and who you're trying to connect with?
So our arts festival is geared towards Christians in the arts. And if you're a Christian artist, you'll know sometimes you fall between two stools because the art world doesn't know what to do with you, and the Christian world doesn't always know what to do with you. And so we started a small festival of art, music, and words. This would have been our 8th annual festival this year, but it's been delayed till next year because we've been funding for the next phase of our build. And the way that the art festival works is it's really open to Christians from anywhere. We get lots of local Christians. I think at our last festival we had 50 plus artists that were involved, and it's been just a really lovely way to connect Christians in the arts. We realize a lot of folks in the arts are disconnected from each other. They don't have there's not.
Yeah, they don't have that community of people who understand them on a vocational level and on a spiritual level.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. It's created some beautiful connections and even collaborations between artists who've been able to, on a practical level, actually platform each other and enable each other to work on projects and reach audiences that they hadn't reached before, which has been wonderful and exciting for us to see happening.
Yeah, I think somewhere around the third or fourth festival, we realized that this was no longer kind of our thing. It was something that kind of the ownership had spread out to all kinds of people that were very invested in, and we've really appreciated that. So on the art side, our tagline, so our ministry is called Pilgrim Hill, and our tagline is making disciples for Jesus through hospitality and art. And the art side is really about discipling existing Christians in their vocation. The hostel side is about mostly focused on non-Christians. The art side is focused on Christians who are doing art. Yeah.
And the next phase of what we want to do is we want to bring those two sides together, because we strongly believe that God speaks to us through the beauty of this world, and he speaks to us through the gifts that he gives his people to express and see that beauty and open it up for other people. And so one thing we're really excited about doing is when we can have artist residencies in the new building that we've built, where Christian artists will come and they'll be working on like a series of sculpture, paintings, songs, and they'll be actually interacting with the life of our hostel, having meals with people. People will be able to go up and talk to them about their art. And we want to do that because we want to encourage Christian artists to go deeper in their skill levels and also in their spiritual life in the way they offer up their art to God, but also so that they have the opportunity to meet potentially, I guess, new audience members, new readers, new viewers, new listeners. And those people have the opportunity to ask questions about what does this mean for you? What is this? Why is this important to you? And that then flows over into the people at our hostel, just being able to see that Christians, that we live a full orbed life, that we love this world, that we are invested in new creation coming, that God's kingdom coming is a beautiful and powerful thing that is for human flourishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly the descriptions we get of the new creation are written so beautifully in the book of Revelation or at the end of Isaiah's prophecy as he sees this kind of marvelous world coming. And we may sometimes undersell how beautiful and
Yeah.
artistically crafted these visions are. I'm interested. It sounds like you've done some thinking around how to commend Jesus and commend his gospel through the arts. That sounds really fascinating as you interact with Christian artists. What have you seen about the way that we really do display and communicate the goodness and beauty of God through the arts?
Well, I think that first of all, when it talks in the Old Testament about God sending his spirit to dwell in the craftsmen, that they're gifted in excellence. And so pursuing excellence is really, really, really important. That's not to say there's not a place for like art therapy and self-expression and people trying things and being amateurs. All of that is good in itself. But we want to encourage where Christians can really pursue that aspect of God that encourages excellence and skill in craftsmanship, where John Milton in the opening of his great epic poem Paradise Lost, he actually invokes the Holy Spirit as his muse. In the ancient world, the muses were thought to be these pagan deities that would come and inspire you to create excellent works. And Milton turns this around and he's like, I need the Holy Spirit. So I think that excellence is a really good place to start. And a lot of times Christian artists aren't encouraged in that or given the space or the time or the resources to actually see excellence as a godly thing to pursue. And it's something that Johann Sebastian Bach is called even by secular musicologists, they sometimes call him the fifth evangelist because his music is so suffused with the gospel of Jesus, and his works and his life convey that so well. But it would never have happened if he had not been so committed to excellence. So excellence is very, very important. And then the second thing, and this is in our guidelines when we accept works with festival, because our festival is actually curated, is truth. Did you want to talk about truthfulness?
Yeah, that we want to make sure that what people are saying is true. So it's not so much that we're propositionally, relating, that, core spiritual laws or something like that. It's we really we want to tell a full orb kind of, this is we want to give people a full picture of what it means to be a Christian, live in this world, and of God's beauty, and that people kind of encounter that and see the goodness of God, and see that that this worldview that God has given us, makes more sense of the world than anything else. And one of the things, so one of our criteria with the festival is truth. We want to make sure, if somebody's submitting a piece of art, it can't be telling a lie about the world. It can't be telling something that is untrue about, what God has created,
I should say we also have a literary competition. We run competitions as part of our festival with cash prizes and other awards, including publication.
Yeah.
And we have a literature component as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so we welcome. It's a small festival of art, music, and words, so people are welcome to be involved in visual, auditory, and written ways as well.
We both come from families that are very artistic, and one thing we've noticed with welcoming non-Christian backpackers into our home through our hostel is that they're often noticing the things around our home, the things that we choose to put on our walls. They say something about us to them, which was interesting to me. I did not realize how powerful that would be. And, I have one backpacker who said, oh, I've never been in a Christian house before. Is this what it's like? And it's kind of a moment where you're like, oh my goodness. And then I had someone else who came from a Catholic country. He was like, oh, it's really interesting. Whenever I was in a religious person's home before, it was always, lots of images of the saints,
like Catholic images of the saints and whatnot.
And they were really surprised and interested in the fact that we were we were thoughtfully and obviously devoutly Christian, but it had influenced the way we set up our home in a different way.
Yeah, for instance, we have a beautiful piece in our main room called Cradle to Grave. It's a diptych, and one of the pieces it shows an ATM machine, and the other one shows a like a dumpster. And it's funny because people's first reaction is, why do you have an ATM machine in a dumpster?
It is actually a beautiful oil painting.
It's a beautiful oil painting, but we have a lot of portraiture as well, like things that would be classically beautiful as well. But this piece, it kind of,
it was done by a Christian artist named Emily Jones here in Tasmania. She's trained in Italy, and she specifically wanted to make a piece about mortality.
Yeah.
And just basically saying, is this all that life consists of? Is this it? Is it an ATM and then a dumpster?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because one of our favorite books to read with young backpacking travelers from the Bible is Ecclesiastes. They all seem to really connect with it. And whenever we read Ecclesiastes, there's a point where somebody at the table turns to that painting, that set of paintings, and goes, oh, that's what this is about. We understand now, and just they have this moment of this visual has just reminded them, okay, there's got to be more than this.
If people want to find out more about what you're doing there and connect with the festival, where should they go?
Yes, there are a few different ways you can find out more. We've got pilgrimartist.com. We've also got pilgrimhill.org. And if you want to join like our mailing list and find out when the residency opens, we'll be doing our first little trial residency probably April, May next year. And then more full on the next year. It'll be the way that the residency is going to work is it's going to be 4 2-month residencies, kind of November, December, January, February, and so on. And the idea behind the residency is it's not a study program. There are plenty of those. So you're not coming with getting a reading list or anything like that. It's really a space for you to create. And the idea is you'd work on something big, something that's kind of God set on your heart, and leave us something small. So if you're a painter, you might, work on a series of paintings and leave us a small sketch. And over time, a writer might leave us a poem or something. And over time, those things will form kind of part of the tapestry at the hostel as well and be a witness to the travelers. Yeah.
Sounds wonderful. How about we put some links to some of those sites in our show notes so that those who are interested can follow up. Christina and Pierce, thanks so much for chatting with me today.
Thanks so much for having us.
You're welcome.